It feels like there is so much negativity in the world with wars and mass shootings and COVID because COVID is still around us. So, to help us clear the negativity and flow into peace with empowered action and clarity, my next guest is a certified aromatherapist and aroma freedom technique practitioner, Dee Castelli. Dee, thank you so much for being here on the New Mid.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. It's so good to be here.
You are so needed right now. The world just feels heavy, and there just feels like there's just so much negativity and the energy. So, thank you for getting into this field. How did you become an aromatherapist?
Well, I was on my own healing journey, trying to find ways to focus my emotional healing efforts. And a friend of mine was becoming a certified aromatherapist, and I had a session with her. And she asked me to smell different aromas and how I responded to those. And we created a custom blend to help me feel calm and grounded. And I started using that. And that's how I started to connect aroma therapy with emotional healing. And so that began my journey.
Well, could you talk to us a little bit more about how does your senses, how do they help you heal?
Oh, it's our sense of smell is amazing because our sense of sight, sound, touch, and taste, our brain has the ability to set those other senses aside. But our sense of smell, our brain does not have the ability to set it aside. So when we're in that heavy emotion and we're stuck in that negativity, or we have a particularly troubling memory that activates our nervous system, our sense of smell goes straight to our brain, specifically the emotional and mental centers of our brain, and interacts to create feelings of calm in a way our other four senses do not.
What's interesting about that is because a sense of smell is our best memory, correct?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people associate particular aromas with particular memories, and this kind of works in reverse because we activate a memory during a full session, and then we use our sense of smell to dissolve the emotional attachment to that memory. And so that's how it helped me with a lot of trouble that I was having, letting go of the emotional attachment to those memories and the story that those memories had created in my head.
Because what's interesting is if you are having a sense and bringing back those traumatic events, are you using a new sense, a new smell to sort of replace that, or how does that work?
That's a really good question. So when we connect fully, mind, body, and emotion, and we activate that memory in our brain, we're fully connected to it. And then when we insert our sense of smell, our brain knows how to file away memories. We do this all the time, right? So I use the example often that you may remember where you were when the World Trade Center event happened. And most people do. Maybe you were at the store buying cheese, and this particular time you were buying cheese and that event happened. Well, now there's an emotional attachment. So when I ask people, where were you when? They remember because there's emotion attached to that memory. You probably bought cheese a ton of other times and you don't remember those because your brain knows how to file those away. So when we fully activate a memory and insert our sense of smell, we just give the brain a nudge because now it must choose between holding on to the story and the memory or um, accepting our sense of smell and the input from that sense. And it cannot choose because it must accept our sense of smell. So it nudges our brain to be able to process and dissolve and put away that memory just as a regular memory.
Have you ever come across a client who doesn't remember a trauma, but through different smells, it might help them realize what is happening or what
Yes, and
happened?
yes, and during an AFT session, during an aroma freedom technique session, we actually step backwards. So our subconscious knows the memory. It doesn't always want to share that with us, So we step backwards and we connect first in specific steps. And then our subconscious will tell us what the memory is. And sometimes it doesn't always happen. Like you say, sometimes there's no memory. And so there's specific ways that I will step through to help pull out that memory. But either way, just like with the aroma reset, you can breathe into the mind, body, emotion connection. And sometimes a memory will then occur with the client.
If someone is listening to this right now and thinking, gosh, I am in a funk, or there's something that is just really bothering me, but they don't know what it is, how do you suggest for them to get a little more awareness?
So a good place to begin would be with an aroma reset, and then just seeing if there's a particular memory that comes to mind about the situation. So that might tell you where that, because when things happen to us, our brain creates a story. It comes to a conclusion about ourselves or the world. And so when we do the aroma reset, we could take one step back and say, is there anything coming to mind right now that relates to the current situation?
Now, with aromatherapy, I love how you talk about our brain tells us a story, and we all have stories in our life. I like to coach becoming who our best selves. And so if you want to program your brain to have a new story, is that also using an aromatherapy reset, or can you use aromatherapy to just start something new?
Well, the mind body emotion connection is what makes this technique so powerful because I used aromatherapy before to help me with emotional healing, but it was specifically the aroma freedom technique and the neuroscience behind that connection that made it so powerful. And this will actually, it's called memory reconsolidation, and we actually rewrite the pathways and rewrite those stories. Yeah.
Oh, that's empowering. So what are the steps that you take to rewrite those stories?
So during a full session, we do something similar to an aroma reset, and we dissolve the emotional attachment to those memories, and then we begin to gain new clarity, and we begin to see things differently and clearer. And our brain will actually, it's amazing, our brain will actually tell us the new story. And then often we end with an affirmation and begin to accept and embrace that new story.
I love that. So we've been talking about the aromatherapy reset. Could you give us one like you do on Clubhouse? They're powerful.
Oh, that would be great. I would love that. All right. So if you're listening, go to your kitchen, grab something fresh, natural, botanical, something like fresh herbs, dried spices. I see you have your tea bag and your citrus fruit. That's great choices. So if you have an herbal tea bag, that's perfect. So set that aside. And first we'll make a connection. So take a nice deep breath and notice one situation that right now for you feels a little overwhelming, frustrating, or confusing, something in the present moment. And once you have that, just take notice. And when you think of that situation, what's the emotion that describes how you feel about it? Do you feel sad, maybe irritation, annoyance, or is there
I
some
feel I feel
concern?
I feel anxious.
Okay. And when you notice that anxious feeling, where in your body feels tight or tense or heavy?
I would say my chest right now.
Okay. And finally, our last connection is what is the negative thought or thoughts happening right now? You don't have to tell me what they are. Just let me know you have it.
Okay, I've
All
got
right.
them. They came
Okay,
pretty
good.
fast.
Yeah, they do, right?
They do. They just come.
Oh, all right. So if you're going to use your herbal tea bag or dried spices, you could rub those between your palms. If you're using a citrus fruit, you would scratch the peel to release the natural oils in the peel and transfer that to your palm.
Can I do both? Or
You
do you
can.
just go for one?
Either one.
And then
Oh,
with the
that
citrus,
sounds,
do I just
scratch the peel.
scratch
Yeah,
it?
just like
Okay.
that. And
Ooh.
then transfer that aroma to your palm. Rub the little,
Oh, it smells
yeah, like that.
great.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So set that aside. Rub your palms together, create a little warmth.
All right.
Place them over your nose and mouth.
Mm,
Just take nice deep breaths. I'll let you sit with that for 30 seconds. Just breathe into that emotion and that space in your body.
do you close your eyes or keep your eyes open?
Whatever suits you.
Okay. Smells really good.
Yeah. And so as that starts to move and shift, and notice if those emotions begin to shift, that tension or heaviness in your body begins to ease. And just
It's,
observe.
it's feeling lighter.
Okay, good. And notice any new thoughts or ideas that begin to arise.
I keep thinking light. Like
Mm,
that word light keeps coming into my head.
okay, yeah, just focus on that. And notice if there's any action step that you can take right away that would help you flow through that situation with a bit more ease.
Definitely. Yes.
Good, good, awesome. So I encourage you to put some space on your planner to do that one small thing. And so that helps amplify and create that forward momentum.
That is powerful. And so you do this every day. You set an intention. Do you set an intention or an affirmation before or
Yes.
after, by the way?
After, if you want to take it a step further, that's another part of the Aroma Freedom technique. There's actually 6 different techniques within the Aroma Freedom umbrella. And so that is an aroma boost. So you take the reset and you add an affirmation now onto the end of it. And so that will amplify and create that motivation. And like you were saying, begin to rewrite.
Oh, that's great. So are those 2 of the 6 steps?
Yeah.
What are the
So,
other 4 steps?
okay. So, aroma freedom technique was developed by Dr. Benjamin Purkis. He's a clinical psychologist, and he used EMDR and EFT and the principles of that to create aroma freedom technique, AFT, because of the way our sense of smell interacts in a way our other senses of sight and touch do not. And so the other 6 techniques, it's all where in time you're having the most block. So the memory release technique is for particularly difficult memories, challenging memories. Some would call them traumatic. And there's another one for if you're feeling particularly activated with your fight and flight. Some people call that triggered. I prefer the word activated. And then there is the reset, which is in the present time, the boost, which adds the affirmation. And then there's 2 other techniques. One of them is aroma wisdom, and it takes you all the way into great fear about the future. And so there's it all depends on where in time you're the most blocked.
Oh gosh, there's one that talks about great fear in the future. That's powerful because I think we can either believe in faith or we can believe in fear. They're both the same. So to be able to go through a process that will help give you more faith than fear is
Mhm.
pretty empowering.
Yeah. Yeah. And during a one-on-one session, in a group session or like with the aroma reset, it's in a group. We follow specific steps, but during a one-on-one session, a practitioner will flow through any of those 6 steps, which is it's a pretty amazing experience. That's what moved me to get my certification in this specific aromatherapy technique.
It, is there any one time that you didn't think it would work and that you were surprised at the what happened to one of your clients or to yourself?
Many times. I was not sure if it would work. In fact, I had been to group sessions several times, and I kept coming back to the same memory, no matter where I came in as far as my goal, no matter what emotion, no matter what place in my body was feeling it, it all kept going back to the same memory. And so I had a one-on-one finally with a practitioner, and she brought me through and we flowed through the different techniques. I didn't know what we were doing at the time, but I was like, we're back at this same memory. I don't know why this keeps coming up. Well, she knew because she had the training. And so we walked through and stepped through dissolving the emotional attachment to that memory. And I was like, what just happened? This is amazing. I will never look at that memory the same again. And so the very next day is when I signed up and took my certification course.
Oh gosh, that's
So yeah,
powerful.
it happens. Yeah.
So if someone is thinking about doing this but is on the fence, what would you say to them?
Well, they could download the Aroma Reset Guide that I have. And after that, they are offered a complimentary consultation to see if this will help them. So that would be the next step. They could all, of course, go ahead and look at my website, but if they want to engage personally, they're welcome to do that.
Oh, that is great. Is there someone, a mentor that you look up to?
Well, Dr. Perkis himself, he would be the person that I most admire for helping with this and bringing this to the world, for creating this technique, and for just providing the way for people to get certified and bring it out to the world and keep just healing others.
And what keeps you going, keeps you doing this? Because you are, your world is filled with negativity, people coming around you. So what keeps you going?
It is seeing the results time and time and time again. People with a history of things. I'll put it that way because I want to stay compliant with what I'm allowed to say. And yeah, so there's just so much. And seeing a person so broken being restored time and time again, there's been times where I said, I'm tired, you know, but yeah, I do a reset myself. And then I think about all the blessings it's brought to so many people. So it keeps me going.
Oh, Dee, that is powerful. And I'm so glad that we were able to go through an actual reset. Thank you for that. So how can people find you?
My website is deecastelli.com, DeeCastelli.com. And they could land there in my orbit and poke around until they're comfortable enough to engage. I would recommend definitely at least downloading the Aroma Reset.
And what time is your Aroma Reset daily on Clubhouse? Is it Monday through Friday?
Yeah, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, great. It is a wonderful session. I highly recommend it. If you're thinking about doing it, jump in and say hi to Dee. Tell her that you heard her on the New Mid podcast. And Dee, thank you
That would be
so
great.
much for the work that you are doing.
Oh, thank you again, Michelle, for having me here and helping me spread the word.